This is Brandon Rabar, your host for today, and this is a dispatch from Daily Thunder. Every story, every game, every day. Welcome to the Daily Thunder podcast. I am your host, Brandon Rabar, beat writer for dailythunder.com, and I am joined by Daily Thunder contributor Ryan Woods. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good besides this game we just witnessed. This is the rapid reaction to Thunder Rockets Game 1. The Rockets win it 123-108. I mean, honestly, it was brutal from beginning to end. They were anywhere from 15 to 23 points up, it seemed like, all game long.
Yeah, just a strange start to the playoffs. I was just kind of disappointed in the effort overall. It seemed kind of aimless. My first takeaway was just the overall lack of what seemed to be a plan. They defensively, it just didn't seem like like there was much execution of anything. There was no commitment to trap, which I thought they would do, to try and double the ball out of Harden's hands with no Russ on the floor. But they didn't do that, and they continuously got beat off the dribble, and they can't survive any type of shooting night from Houston playing that way.
Well, and Houston shot, I think it was 20 of 52 from three, and that being like 38.5. For most of the game, they were like 45, 46% from three, and that's when they got the huge lead. They're in the fourth quarter there at the end. It went down a little bit because they finally missed some shots. But, I mean, no team is going to beat this Rockets team if they're shooting like that from beyond the three-point line. They've been up and down all season long. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this next game they go cold and shoot 23% from beyond the arc. But the Thunder need to take care of what they can take care of. The Rockets' three-point shooting, it's questionable game to game. But what isn't questionable is effort, is a scheme, is committing, and those things that you said. I think it's tough because the Thunder on offense, I believe, were thrown off by the 2-3 zone that the Rockets were playing. And I think that the fact that the Rockets don't have any bigs that the Thunder can take advantage of and pick and rolls is different. These are two of the main kind of wells that the Thunder go back to in their offense, and they're kind of taken away by this zone and by the lack of bigs. And so they've got to adjust. What do you think the Thunder should do offensively in this game too, differently than they did this game? Or is it just a matter of executing?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think there are things that they can do differently, and one being, if you're going to have a big on the floor, that big has got to be incredibly active in pick and roll just to get the ball handler into the lane.
Yep.
Because like you're saying, they're going to switch everything. And the switch, I think that's kind of what Chris was referring to when he was saying no one plays like Houston. They do play differently offensively, but no team switches with just guards and forwards like they do. And like you're saying, the three-guard lineup, what makes that so special is they move it around until they get the mismatch they want, and they hunt it. And when there's, like you're saying, when there's no big on the floor to take advantage of, and you're just sitting there looking at 6'6", 6'7" guys with their arms out, it just looks different, and it's a very different look. And if Oklahoma City is going to score with this team, it's going to have to be because these guards are getting in the lane, and it's going to take a solid screen to get them that way, unless or they're just going to have to be very aggressive and taking their guy off the dribble one-on-one.
Steven Adams, when you look at it, he had a solid night, 17 points, 12 rebounds on 7 of 13 shooting. But the problem is, if the Thunder are going to beat this Rockets team without those three guards getting to the lane, getting to the rim, and taking advantage of the size that way, they were trying to feed the post. They were trying to feed Steven. And as good as that looks on paper, he needs to be more dominant if that's going to be, one of the main sources of scoring against this Rockets offense. More efficient, more volume, either that or, again, like you said, set the screens, somehow get those guards open. What did you think of the Thunder's defense? Do you think that the Rockets were just hot, or do you think it was a lack of closing out on those shooters?
All of it, all of the above.
Yeah.
The Rockets shot really well tonight, and the Thunder defended as poorly as they have all year. It was incredibly slow and disappointing, and there was no aggression. They were back on their heels seemingly from the jump. And if you're not going to trap Harden, you have to stop the ball. You have
Right.
to contain the ball. And it wasn't just Harden going by defenders. It was Eric Gordon getting into the lane. It was Jeff Green getting into the lane, going by guys. It just can't happen. Like the Rockets can shoot 20% from three. If those guys are going and getting in the lane, like regardless of who's in front of them, like I don't know how Oklahoma City beats any team in the league defending like they did tonight. It just wasn't a good effort. And obviously things change, and game one is a very interesting game in a series. It's probably it's probably the game that you can pull the least amount from heading into the rest of the series. But Oklahoma City looked just really, really bad tonight, and it was. I'm curious what they're going to do with that starting spot if Dort can't go in game two. What are you thinking they could have done differently? Did you like what they did, and what do you want them to do going forward if Dort's still out?
Well, Dort being out, I do think made a big difference on the Thunder. He's their best hardened defender, and that obviously changes a lot of things. And his hustle and energy are kind of infectious, and I think that would have helped tonight, absolutely, on a night. They looked like they lacked energy, which has been such a hallmark for this team. That the effort and the fight and all that, it's been there all season long. So it's weird that on the biggest stage so far for the team, I don't know if it was nerves, young guys, what it was, but like you said, the effort didn't seem to be there like it usually is. As far as the starting spot goes, social media fans were pretty ticked that Ferguson took the spot.
Yeah.
But I get it, because if it's me, I don't start Diallo because, I don't trust him to take care of the ball, take care of possessions, and not take bad shots. And I still think that Ferguson is a better defender than him, and I think he's a better shooter than him. Nader, I honestly wouldn't mind seeing Nader because at least he's a really good shooter. The problem is he can't defend Harden, obviously. Maybe you can put him on somebody and have Chris Paul or Shea try their best against Harden. Then, I've seen suggested put Baisley in the starting lineup and Dre in the starting lineup. But Dre doesn't look himself physically as much as I love Dre. And I think, I still think he would be a better option than some of the other guys. But if it's me, I would do Schroeder. I mean, I get the continuity of bringing him off the bench. I get it. But this is the playoffs. He needs to play more minutes anyways. And your best lineup by far is CP3, Shea, Schroeder, Gallo, and Adams. So just start with it and then stagger from there. That's what I would do.
And I completely agree with you. And for all the same reasons, this is the playoffs. The rotation shrinks anyway. They brought him in at the 8-minute and 11-second mark. So, I mean, Ferguson played just under 4 minutes. Why not just stagger those 4 minutes around with those three guards? That 3-guard lineup is your only chance, I think.
It is.
And I hesitate to say this because this is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but I really don't think Oklahoma City can survive the Ferguson, Nader, Diallo minutes unless Westbrook comes back. that is setting myself up for possibly that being thrown back in my face. But the whole game I kept thinking, if Harden is just going to get to be out there with 4 3-point shooters, it's going to get really, really tough for Oklahoma City to keep up unless they're really hot. And Westbrook at least gives them one rotation away. Like it gives them one rotation to get back into position, because Russ isn't going, like, you'd much rather Russ be shooting that 3 than even Ben McLemore or Eric Gordon, whoever it goes to. So if Russ is not going to play, Dort needs to come back. And if Dort can't come back, I think they've got to start Schroeder and just go play those guys as many minutes as possible.
I got some flack from Daily Thunder regulars and staff members, Olivia Punchall and Justin from DT and Seth from DT, for this hot take that I tweeted out. I said, it sounds insane, but the Thunder are missing Lou Dort more than the Rockets are missing Russell Westbrook. And obviously, Russ is better than Lou Dort. That's not what I'm saying. That's a given. That's obvious. But look at the score. I mean, the Rockets pummeled the Thunder. And a lot of that was, like you said, they had 5 shooters on the floor every single time down. And that's a matchup nightmare for the Thunder. You know, the Thunder's 2 of their 6 best players are centers that can't shoot, and that shouldn't be guarding out on the perimeter. So it's an issue for matchup purposes. And the Thunder really did miss Lou Dort. The Thunder don't want to double or trap Harden. I get that.
And I don't know why. I don't know why
Yeah.
that is, because
Yeah.
if you're going to play 2 bigs at the whole game, which was so confusing already, if you're going to play 2 bigs, like everybody's just going to be scrambling anyway. Like it just takes one guy getting beat. Why not take it out of Harden's hands and let the ball move? And again, if McLemore and Green are going to hit the shots like they were tonight, then you're probably going to lose anyway. But like, it just didn't seem like there was a scheme to begin with, and which was disappointing. And Donovan seemed shocked that 2 bigs on the floor the entire game didn't work.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Darius Baisley had a good game. He shot 3 from 4 from 3, 9 points, 9 rebounds in only 17 minutes. The idea of playing him at the 5 really does make sense if the Rockets are going to continue to trot out 5 3-point shooters without Russ being in the game. And that's because, you know, he's got a 7-foot wingspan. He can help on the boards. He can play on the perimeter, but he can also shoot. You don't want to get into a game of beating the Rockets at their own game, but I don't think that you necessarily have to, because you still have a size advantage between Gallo being 6'10 and Baisley being 6'9. So you still have the rebounding advantage. You still have that size advantage down low, but you add a little bit more perimeter defense. You add a little bit more ball handling. You add a little bit more shooting.
Totally. And I think Baisley has done more than enough to earn some minutes at the 5 with the starters minus Adams, and with Dort, if he's gonna be back whenever that is, some minutes with a 3-guard lineup with Dort and Baisley at the 5. I think they need to lean into playing small. And like you're saying, Baisley, I've seen a lot of like, well, this option we don't have. If you go with this guy, we don't have shooting. If you go with this guy, he can shoot, but he can't defend. Baisley does both pretty well. And when the shot isn't falling, he's not, he's not a one-trick pony. He can take the ball into the lane, and he had a great drive and kick back out to Muscala in the corner. He looked like the only guy wanting to take it to him and be physical. And it's great to see from a 19-year-old. You really love, or 20-year-old, you love to see it. But yeah, I think he's earned more minutes. I like you're saying, I think it should be Dennis starting, but I love Baisley playing more minutes as the lone big.
I think Baisley needs more minutes. I think Nader needs some minutes. I have no idea why he didn't play at all. He's one of the Thunder's best bench players. He can at least shoot, which the Thunder needed. Diallo got 15 minutes. He was 1 for 4 for 3, but I just don't know that he helps. And
it feels like those Diallo minutes are going to probably go to Nader at least to start next game. I could be wrong, but it feels like Nader is going to get that look next game.
Hopefully Dort's back. Dort soaks up minutes. Baisley maybe gets some more minutes. Nader gets some more minutes. I think that helps the Thunder. I really do. And let's be honest, not to be all doom and gloom, the Rockets aren't likely to shoot like this again. I mean, they have games where they shoot like this. Yes, it could happen again. They've got great 3-point shooters. But this was great even for them. They hit 23 pointers. And Green and McLemore, I just can't see them, going off like that again. I mean, Green had 22. McLemore had 14. He was 4 of 7 from 3. Green was 3 of 7 from 3. Eric Gordon scored 21. The Rockets players besides Harden really all went off. So, yes, it looks like the Rockets are a lot better than the Thunder based off of game 1. But the Magic look better than the Bucks game 1. And I'm not saying the Thunder are better than the Rockets. I really think it's a coin flip. The Rockets have the better top-tier talent, which usually wins out in the playoffs. But I still believe, regardless of what we saw today, that the Thunder have, besides Russ and Harden, I think the next 4 or 5 players, if you were to rank all the guys in the series, would be Thunder players. But Schroeder and Shea had 2 of their worst nights of the season.
Yeah,
And when that happens, combined with Jeff Green and Ben McLemore having great nights, you get a game like this.
yeah,
Look at everything else, but if you just stick those 4 players and Shea and Schroeder shooting so below and scoring so below their averages and Green and McLemore going off, it makes a huge difference.
totally does. And you can't like I think it was you that tweeted it out, the Shea and Dennis combined for 15, and what those other 2 guys combined for is it just can't you can't get outscored in that area. Like that's the game. And
Right, exactly.
and if and Shea's got to like you're saying, these adjustments, if they can make them and get Shea into the lane and get him to the foul line, it's got to happen. He's
Yeah.
got to be a lot more aggressive. It can't just be the 3 ball. He's got to affect the game from closer to the basket and open things up for other guys. And I think with more minutes with the 3 guard lineup, more minutes with just 1 big on the floor, I think that accomplishes all of those things. We got a great night from Gallo tonight. He was phenomenal. His shot certainly looked the best it's looked since they've been in Orlando. His speed, his strength. I mean, when they like to hide Harden on these big guys, Gallo owns any smaller guy on the block. He's
Yep.
like, that's where they can take advantage of size, is by taking Adams and using him off the floor, getting Harden put on Gallo and letting him go to work with the floor spread. I think that's a much more feasible route to go than having another big on the floor, when it just feels like that has played into Houston's hands more times than not, is when you say, well, we're just going to go big and they can deal with it. They deal with it quite well. They have guys specifically for that type of scheme on both ends, not just offense. They have defenders who aren't scared of anyone, and they guard above their weight class, and that allows them to get up and down the floor so quickly and get up so many threes. And I just think it slows the game down and allows Harden to rest. It just does so many things for Houston when you play 2 bigs. And hopefully Donovan moves towards Baisley and or Gallo as the lone big.
Yeah, and I like Muscala too, because at least he can spread the floor and shoot as well. So the Thunder have options. I do think that Donovan has proven in the past to be good about adjustments between games and playoff series. And I think that Chris Paul is like having another coach out there who looks at weaknesses and strengths and attacks them. I think the Thunder will come back more prepared and with a better plan and scheme in game 2, and with more effort, obviously. And I think with just better play. And I just don't see the Rockets hitting 23s again. I expect a much closer, better game in game 2. I am glad that you mentioned Gallinari. He was by far the Thunder's best player tonight. He was fantastic. The Rockets can't stop him. I wouldn't mind seeing him getting more and more shots, honestly, because the Rockets can't do anything against him. CP3 had a really bad first half and a really great second half. His final stat line looked good, 20, 10, and 9, near triple-double. I think he'll come back and have a more complete game. We don't see him have off games very often, and Shea and Schroeder will play better. I don't know if the Thunder will win game 2, but I expect a much, much better game in game 2.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you said, Donovan is proven to be a very good in-series adjuster, and I fully expect to see a much more aggressive, on purpose look from the team coming out game 2.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the hallmark of this team all year anyways, right? Get down, it looks like things are over, there's no chance, and they come back out of nowhere. I'm not saying they're going to win this series, but this team has fight, and I expect them to show that fight in game 2. And I think this is still going to be a fun, long series, and I would think that if the Thunder won tonight or if the Rockets won tonight, when Dort and or Russ come back, it's going to affect the game in one way or another.
Yep.
Obviously, tonight advantage the Rockets with those 2 guys out. I'm curious to see how they'll change things maybe in the Thunder's favor when those guys come back. All right, before we go, I need a prediction. Game 2, will the Thunder tie it up 1-1, or will the Rockets take a big 2-0 lead?
I think it'll be a much closer game, and I think the Rockets go up 2-0.
That's fair. I do think it's going to be a close game that'll come down to the wire. And in those situations, I like the Thunder's track record this year of close games and clutch time with CP3 and the guys. So I'll take the Thunder in a close one, 1-1 to tie it up.
And like we know, the playoff series does not start until the home team loses. So
That's right.
So we're still just fine. That's
right.
Lots of game left.
If the Thunder win this next one, we take it back to Orlando, tied 1-1.
That's right. That's right.
Ryan, thanks so much for being on the show as usual, man.
Cheers, brother.